In this video, I'm going to talk about variations and how they are important in construction projects and why do we need to study variations very well and why do we need to understand how to do the variations and how to execute them. In this video, you will learn all of that. So let's start. So I'm going to be starting the discussion here with what is a contract, and I'm not going to talk much about that because this is not the main subject of this video, but a contract is the agreement between two parties to do some works or some services, and there will be in the contract some terms and conditions that will be followed to execute these works or services. And of course, we will have drawings, specifications, BOQ, program of work, some documents attached to the contract, and based on these documents, we will be executing the works or the services in question. This is the first part that I wanted to cover. So in the contract, you will have a specific works that you are required to do as per this contract. Now, what is a variation? A variation is basically a change when they ask you to do something that was not agreed in the contract, something additional. It can be an addition or an omission to what is in the contract actually. So the variation can be an addition or omission. And there is another question, which is it unlimited? Like the client or the owner of the works can ask you to change forever, like to change everything and all? Of course, no, there is a limit that will be set in the contract that variations are acceptable up to 10 or 15%, a specific percentage, and this percentage is measured money-wise, will be set in the contract that up to this percentage we can vary from what was agreed or we can change what was agreed. But if this percentage is exceeded, then of course everything in the contract will change. The whole contract will need to be amended because all the prices will change. Also, the change can be a change in the quantity only or change in the item. And actually, when the change is only change in the quantity, it is easy to deal with. Why? Because in the contract we have some quantities and these quantities have increased or decreased within the percentage that we talked about. Then it is easy to measure how much is the increase or how much is the decrease, and we can calculate the value of that and add it to the contract or deduct it from the contract. But when there is a new item which has no rate in the contract, then the rate has to be established, and this is a harder type of variation because you need to prove the correctness of this rate by quotations or by rate built up analysis, and it has to be agreed and all. But when the variation is just addition of quantity or omission of quantity, then in that case it's easy because we will just sit and calculate the quantities either added or omitted, and we will just calculate their values because we will take the rates from the BOQ that is already existing in the contract. So as we said here, we have the change in the quantity and the change in the items, and if the change is in the quantity only, we'll calculate the difference, and if the change is in the item, then we will have to price this item. What is the price of this item? We'll have to get some quotations from the market, or maybe we will need to build up the rate based on the material price and manpower prices and overheads and all of that. So it's a headache, it's a lengthy process, and usually the parties are like very difficult to agree when there is a new item is added, and they are trying to avoid it. But the problem is that variations in the contracts are inevitable. Inevitable means they will come. So you will have to expect a variation in the project for sure. The next point we want to cover is the steps of the variation. So what are the steps that we follow to do the variation? The first thing, we have the instructions. So when they want to change something in the project, they will inform you somehow. So they will send you an instructions. This instruction can be just a letter telling you to do this additional work or to not do this work which is already part of the contract, or they can send you a revised IFC drawings, for example, which will have a different layout. So there is a change in the layout, and based on this change in the layout, there will be a variation, cost saving or addition. So the first thing is the instruction, and the instruction, as I told you, can be just a letter sent to you, or it can be a new set of documents sent to you to execute it at site. Either way, when you receive the instructions to do this thing, you have to send, or the contractor has to send, a notice of variation, because sometimes the client will revise the layout of the project, for example, and he will not know that there is a variation in what he did. So as a contractor, the contractor has to notify, send a notice of variation that please note that there is a variation in here and due to the change of so and so. So this is a notice of variation that has to be sent to inform the client and to inform the consultant that what you need will involve a cost impact, and I am writing this letter to you just to let you know that there will be a cost impact here. After that, when the consultant or the client receive this notice of variation, they will review it and they will review their documents and everything, and if they understand and they are convinced that yes, there is a variation, they will send you a confirmation that yes, we understand that there is a variation, please do it. So in that case, they will reply to your notice of variation by a confirmation, and in that case, when you receive this confirmation, so they are acknowledging that there is a variation, you need to submit something that is called RVO, or request for variation order. Now they have confirmed that there is a variation in the project, and the request of variation order is that you are telling them, okay, there is a variation in the project, but actually this variation is not accounted for in the contract price, so I need more money to do this additional work or something, so I am requesting a variation order, which is an additional document to the contract that we have between each other. We have a contract of 1 million, for example, and I need also a variation order of 15,000 or 50,000 or whatever amount for the additional works. So in the request of variation order, you will show the change on the drawings, and you will write the narrative, and you will calculate that change in terms of money and all of that, and you will submit the request for variation order, which will include all the calculations, all the drawings, highlighting what is the original layout and what is the revised layout and all of this. And you will also highlight the amount that you are claiming, and based on what. Is it a change in the quantity only, or is it a new item added to the project? And if it is a new item, then you will have to attach your quotations also, or your rate built up, and you will have to go for a meeting to agree these things and all. After that is done and everything is agreed, they will issue you a variation order. And the variation order, it's like a purchase order. It's like an additional document to your contract. And sometimes they go and they just amend the contract, adding this additional value, or they can amend the contract deducting this value that should be deducted if it's a cost saving, for example. Anyway, the final step will be a variation order. A variation order as an approved document, or they might ask you to revise the contract and they send you the new contract or the amended contract for signing or something like that. This is how you confirm, or this is how you make sure that the variation is accounted for, and now you can claim if there is a payment or something for these extra works, you can claim for them. But if the variation order is not there, if it is not signed, if you didn't receive any document, they cannot make you the payment, because the thing that you are claiming, the items that you are claiming, are not there in the contract. So in that case, the variation order has to be approved first, then you can submit your payment or submit whatever you need from them in terms of money and all of that. Also in the project, even if nothing changed at all, still there will be a variation, which is the PC adjustment, because in the contract there will be some items that are called prime cost items, and these items are just some items where you have agreed the supply rate, for example, with the client. So the agreed supply rate for the tile, for example, let's say 40 dirhams or dollars or whatever, and they want to supply let's say a more expensive tile or a less expensive tile depending on the selection. Maybe they select something that costs 45 or costs 38 or something like this. So you have to do this adjustment. How much is the rate that is there in the contract, and how much is the rate that you have purchased, and what is the agreed percentage of wastage, and it has a process. So the PC adjustment is also a variation, and it will be there in each project. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.